Good afternoon to all. As Arun said, today we are going to learn about psychosocial issues in palliative care. This session will be taken by Miss Elna. She is a senior medical social worker. She is working here. Uh, Elna, over to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Shiba ma'am, for your kind introduction. Hello, all. Happy to see you in this online platform. Hope you all had a lunch and ready for this session. So, myself, Elena Joseph, and I have been working with the Palim India since 1.5 years. I was mostly placed in Medical College Outpatient Department of Palliative Care. Now I am part of Ujjwal project, which is a gender equity project mainly focusing women caregivers. So this is all about me. So I am going to start the session. Today I am going to take you all in the session, and the session is mainly talking about the psychosocial aspects of care and the importance of psychosocial aspects in a palliative care setting, and how we can take a psychosocial assessment in a palliative care session. So these all questions going to answer in this whole session. So I hope you all had a great idea regarding what is palliative care and the importance of palliative care and how it differs from other areas of practice. I hope you all had an idea through your previous sessions. In short, we can say palliative care is a holistic approach. Is a system-based approach, or we can call it as a whole system approach. See, before going to the session, I want all of your attention to this definition. Maybe you all gone through this definition through this foundation course in palliative care nursing. But for a smooth understanding or a smooth functioning of this session, I think it is important to understand or revisit this definition once again. This is one of important thing in palliative care. So I need all of your attention. So what do you mean by palliative care according to WHO? Palliative care is an approach that improves the quality of life of patients and their families facing problems associated with life-threatening illness through the prevention and relief of suffering by means of early identification and impeccable assessment and treatment of pain and other problems, physical, psychosocial, and spiritual. So please go through the highlighted sentences because the whole session is going to talk about these highlighted session. A proper psychosocial assessment by covering the physical, psychosocial, and spiritual aspects, and thereby we make sure the prevention and relief of suffering. So that's why these highlighted sentences are very important in today's session because we are going to talk or we are going to discuss these things in the whole session. So please keep it in mind. That will be helpful for you. Sorry. So a proper assessment by covering these psychological, physical, spiritual aspect will be helpful for a proper palliative care in a palliative care setting. So why it is important? So this is going to discuss in this session. We know that palliative care is not just vital in controlling the physical symptom of patient's disease condition, but also aims to extend the quality of life of patient without compromising dignity. And we know that palliative care is a care concerned with the psychological and emotional well-being of the patient and family, including issues of self-esteem, adaptation of diagnosis, consequences, communication, social functioning, and relationship. So in this case, we need to consider another important term in palliative care. Do you have any guess what is the another important term in palliative care? I think some of you heard this term, otherwise some of you are new to this term. So I am going to discuss this term. Next. So that is total pain. The word or the term is coined by Ms. Cicely Saunders. She was the contributor of modern hospice movement. I think you might know her because when we dealing with the palliative care, it is important to know her role in palliative care setting. So, according to her, she defined it as suffering that encompasses psychological, social, spiritual, and practical struggle. So, according to her, thus she's defined this total pain as that a suffering that encompasses all of a patient's physical, social, psychological, spiritual, and practical struggle. So, total pain is a collection or unified form of a 4 dimensions that we already discussed, that is a physical, social, psychological, and spiritual factor. So, this is a unified form of these 4 aspects. And we know that these aspects are central to palliative care, or we can say this is a central point of the philosophy of palliative care, the total pain concept. The combination of these elements is believed to result in a total pain experience, and this total pain experience is differ from patient to patient situation. So this is not same in all patient situation. This is different from one patient to another because we know that each patient and their situation is unique. For example, if a man diagnosed with a carcinoma in lungs and he got admitted in inpatient department of palliative care and for a pain management, the goal of admission is pain management. But there is no visible change in his pain. And after taking the continuous psychosocial assessment, the social worker or the multidisciplinary team could understand that the major reason of that pain is not only the physical pain. He was always thinking about his family, children, who will take care of my family, who will take care of my children's education. So these are the things wandering around his mind. So that is the reason of why his pain is not get reduced. So most of the time, they cannot distinguish which of these combination is causing pain. So as I already said, it is different from patient to patient. So this total pain experience is different to patient. As most of the time, as I already said, they cannot distinguish which of this combination is causing pain. So it is our duty or palliative care physicians, doctors, or social workers' duty to understand which of these factors is prominent in that patient's case. So the physical pain reported by a patient is compounded by his or her current life circumstances. So we here focus patient in his environment, approach. We take this approach, that is patient in his environment approach, because we cannot distinguish which of this factor is causing pain to that patient. So another important term is social diagnosis. What do you mean by social diagnosis? An understanding of psychological, biological, social, and environmental factors operating on the person, his situation. We never consider this patient as a patient. We consider this patient as a person. If we consider that patient as a person, we definitely consider that patient's situation. That situation may be his family, his relatives, his social connections. Everything can be included in patient in environment approach. So that is important, the social diagnosis. The social diagnosis is a word coined by Ms. Mary Richmond. She was a social worker. So these are the things we need to consider when we talk about palliative care. So next slide. Next slide. So illness-related suffering is much more than just physical distress. As I already told, like illness is not just a physical symptom. We never combine this. Illness is not only a physical or symptomatic things. We need to consider these 4 aspects. So these four aspects include the physical, psychological, socio-economic, and the spiritual aspects. Next slide. So we are going to deal the another important area in this session, that is of psychosocial care. So why is psychosocial care important in a palliative care setting? You have any idea regarding this? Or maybe you are new to this. So I can help you. So why is psychosocial care important in palliative care setting? We know a sudden diagnosis of a life-threatening illness, how is going to affect that patient and family? Can you imagine? I know you can imagine. Maybe you have such kind of experience, maybe your own experience or your siblings or your friends' experience. You heard some kind of experience from others. So I know you can imagine. But it is different from person to person situation. And that time, most of the people are in a panic situation. We know that. Suddenly, they came to know that they are diagnosed with a life limiting illness, for example, cancer, a rare kind of disease, anything can happen. So that time, people and the family, they are in a panic situation. They may get traumatized. They don't know what to do. Lot of question marks coming in front of them. Not only related to their physical condition, their psychological, spiritual, any aspects can at that point. So that time, a lot of reactions, a chain of reactions, physically, mentally, can happen in their mind because they are in a situation of trauma. They don't know the next step of their life. So emotionally, they are in a turbulence of phase. So a lot of things happening at that point of time. So this is we are talking about why psychosocial care is important in palliative care. Living with a life limiting or life threatening illness or the awareness of approaching death poses unique stresses and challenges. We know that unique stresses and challenges definitely arise. So, a serious illness disrupts individuals' thoughts and feelings, relationships, social and spiritual supports, financial stability, and spirituality. So, all things are going to change if a person diagnosed with a life limiting or life threatening illness. Next. So here comes the importance of assessment. So today I'm going to teach you, or I am going to let you know all you about this assessment, how we can take a proper assessment in palliative care setting, and what is the importance of psychosocial assessment in a palliative care setting. So before going to that sessions, we need to understand what do you mean by assessment. Assessment is an exploration process. Exploration means to gather information or find out new things or find out new ideas related to that patient. An exploration process of gathering information about the person, and the selection of goals and interventions depends largely on what is being assessed. So we know that here in palliative care, we act as a multidisciplinary team towards attain a patient's goal. So if a patient came to our OP or IP department, there is we prepare some plan of care, and it is purely based on the psychosocial assessment, and we act together act as a multidisciplinary team towards achieving that patient's goal. And it is different from patient to patient. Most of them they came for the pain management or symptom control, anything. So a proper and authentic psychosocial care is complete only by doing a proper assessment. So based on the psychosocial assessment, the whole multidisciplinary team is going to take some decision which related to the patient. So if we consider these four aspects, we got a clear picture, picture clarity about that patient. So this will going to help to frame out some treatment goal or interventions related to that patient. So it's purely based on how our psychosocial assessment is being taken. So this is not a one-time process. Next slide. Okay. Aim of assessment is to identify problem areas which result from illness and may influence the well-being of patients and their families. So, and this assessment involves collecting information, identifying and honoring strength, resources, and needs. So, by taking a proper psychosocial assessment, you could able to understand his major strength, weakness, the major resources, everything we can understand by taking a proper psychosocial assessment. And another important thing is we need to document each important thing for a next level of care plan. As I already discussed, based on this psychosocial assessment, the multidisciplinary team is going to take the major intervention plan or a care plan for that patient. So it is purely based on that psychosocial assessment. So we need to document each and everything, and this will help to avoid repetition of questions to that patient. We know that patient and family is already in a traumatized situation, a panic situation. So we can avoid these kinds of repetition if we properly document each and every thing. Next slide. As I already told, like assessment is an ongoing process. This is not something which is going to end only by the initial assessment or something. It is an ongoing process because we need a continuous assessment or a follow-up assessment. As the psychosocial needs of patients and family or caregivers often change over the course of illness. We know it is very difficult to deal with the human's mind and human's nature because they are changing day by day. We know our own moods and mood swings. We cannot judge our moods sometimes. So it is important to follow up this assessment because sometimes it may gain, the often changes may happen. So we need to follow up and document each and everything. And for this, two things are going to help you. That is a purposeful observations and purposeful conversation. What do you mean by purposeful observations? Some of you are placed or some of you have experience in psychiatric settings or something. In psychiatric settings, a lot of people are using the MSE, mental status examination. This mental status examination is mainly focusing the mental status of patient and their family, especially patient. This mental status examination includes their postures, their gestures, and body posture, how they communicate, the tone of their voice, and appearance, everything matters. So through that, patient is communicating to you. Or sometimes we know that most of the communication is happening do not verbally. Most of the communication happening through non-verbal communication. So non-verbally, they are communicating a lot of things to us. We know that if you read some materials related to communication, we can understand that communication is mostly happening through non-verbally. For understanding that, we need a purposeful observation. Without a proper purposeful observation, we cannot understand each of these things because through this non-verbal communication, they are talking to us. Their mood, their body postures, their expressions, everything communicated. So for this, we need a purposeful observation. Next, we need a purposeful conversation. What do you mean by purposeful conversation? Every communication matters, especially with related to patient and family. So actually, we need to be masters in communication also when dealing with the patient and their problems because each and every word of ours is matters because we don't know what is a condition the patient and family is. So we have to be very cautious when dealing with the patients. Otherwise, we will spoil everything because we know our each word and sentences are matters because they are already in a grieving state. So purposeful observation and purposeful conversation will be helpful for taking a proper psychosocial assessment. Next. So as I already told, like we need a proper psychosocial assessment. So if a patient came to our outpatient department for registration, we take only initial psychosocial assessment, but that is not enough. We are believing them only by their words or their verbal things. But we need to understand that patient little more. For that, we need some source of information. This source of information may be patient or caregiver, And also we can depend the collateral sources. Maybe you are new to this word. The collateral sources means the friends, relatives, neighbors, anyone can be the collateral source. In palliative care setting, we mainly focusing home visits. We know without these home visits, I think palliative care is nothing, because home visits are one of the important backbone of palliative care, because there are a lot of patients they cannot access medical facilities without why, because their transportation facilities and anything can be. So a lot of patients are now also they can lot of patients are they have unmet needs. So home visits are one of another important area for understanding or gather information or a source of information. So through a proper home visits, we can understand a lot more. You can see two of these pictures. In the first picture, this is a narrow pathway to one of our patient. And the second picture you can see, that is also a one of picture of one of our patient's house. You can imagine a country like India still have these kinds of things, the basic shelter or basic transportation, anything we can imagine. But this is a reality. But if you want to understand the reality, the home visits will be a helpful one. Otherwise, we can't understand the basic or the exact reality of the situation, or what all are the dilemmas that patient and family is facing. These all things can be found out only conducting a proper home visits. So that is why palliative care is one of the important thing is home visits. Through this home visits, we could able to understand the reality or the real dilemmas which the patient and family is facing. Next. Okay. Next, I want all of your attention to this case scenario. This case scenario will be a helpful one for all of you, because through this case scenario, we are going to discuss or we are going to study how to take a psychosocial assessment in a palliative care setting. This is a real life scenario, and a 33 years old lady, Mrs. A, has been diagnosed with a CA rectum in 2014, and she had chemotherapy and radiation followed by colostomy, and she was referred for pain management. At the time of registration, she presented with a severe pain, infection, and a foul smell from the colostomy site. She looked very anxious and scared and had no idea about palliative care. From the medical records and present disease progression, the team had an impression of a very bad prognosis. She is a widow and her sons are 11 and 8 years old, respectively. Next. So, what are the important areas to be assessed from the point of view of total pain? Now you got an idea about what you mean by total pain. Under this total pain, we need to consider the four domains, that is the physical, psychological, social, and spiritual. So it is easy to understand these things, and we need to consider this case scenario under these four domains or the concept of total pain. Next slide. So this is the basics of psychosocial assessment. By fulfilling each of these factors, we got a blueprint of a proper psychosocial assessment. So I'm going to describe each and everything. First of all, patient overview, insight, family overview, socioeconomic overview, psychological overview, spiritual overview, and psychosexual overview. So the patient overview. Every psychosocial aspect or psychosocial assessment is going to start with this patient overview. In this patient overview, we are going to gather information related or regarding the patient's side, the age, or the address, or the demographic situation, or his diagnosis, and what was his job before the diagnosis, and currently what he's doing. Everything related to patient can be included in this patient overview. And also we can mention who is the primary caregiver of that patient and what is the current status of patient. So everything related to patient can be included under this heading, patient overview. So the next we are going to take the insight. What do you mean by insight? I know you all have idea about insight. Insight about prognosis, diagnosis, and palliative care. So most of the cases, the patient does not have any idea about insight. Maybe family have insight about the prognosis, diagnosis, and palliative care. So it is our responsibility to educate them about palliative care. And sometimes the family members do not want to inform the patient about the prognosis and diagnosis, and it is depends on the patient situation, how the patient's coping skill, all things matters. So it is based on situation. So that is about insight about prognosis, diagnosis, and palliative care. Then family overview. So what do you mean by family overview? Yeah, we already taken the related information regarding patient. So next we are going to take the family. So family matters, we know that. If we take a proper assessment of a family, we know how the family system works towards that patient, how the bonding is, how emotionally connect that patient with the family. Everything can be included in a family overview. So for this, the echo map and the genogram will be helpful one. Next slide. Next one. Next. So okay. So you can see an image. This is, as I already mentioned, one case scenario. This is a genogram, and you can see the case Mrs. A and her two children. This genogram is purely for that patient. You can you can see that the zigzag line and the bonded line and the straight line. These all lines have its own meanings. That zigzag line means the break or the hostile relationship with that patient and the family members. And the thick line shows the intensity, the what normal or thickness of their relationship. And the plain line resembles a normal or plain line resembles a normal relationships to the patient and the family. So these all lines indicates meanings. So you can go back. Okay. Okay. These are the legends. You can see that through these legends, it is easy to understand the family's current status. The adopter, how we can show an adopted child, foster child, pregnancy, stillbirth, miscarriage, abortion, twins, anything can be included through this genogram. And this genogram is a pictorial representation that is mainly focusing family relationships and the family dynamics. Anything can be included in this. So next, I'm going to discuss about the ECOMAP. Next slide. Next. So ECOMAP is something as a graphical representation of the societal relationship with the family. Family, societal relationship, and the social connectedness, emotional relationship with that societal things. That is ECOMAP. It's a graphical representation. And we know that man is a social animal. So each man has his own societal connections. So social connectivity, relationships highlight the quality of their connections also. All of this system at play in an important role in human's life. So the next slide. Okay. You can see the lines and the thickness, the energy flows. Each line has its own meanings, the positive, tenuous, stressful arrows that shows the energy flows. So, and the line thickness showing the intensity of that relationships. Next slide. So this is the ECOMAP, which is mainly for that patient, as I already mentioned in the case scenario. How much that family is connected to the external world. like church, public health centers, local volunteers, palliative care, school, neighbors, peer group, panchayat, and everything. So everything can be included in this ECOMAP and genogram, and which is easy to understand, and it is very notifiable through this by using these kinds of legends. And this family overview also included this genogram and ECOMA. Back, 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 back. So next we are going to take the socio-economic overview. And what are the things included in the socio-economic overview? The socio-economic overview mainly focusing the social background or the economic background of that family. We know a sudden diagnosis of a life-limiting illness or diseases cause a lot of financial burden to the family. So these all are the things going to discuss or considered under this topic. So as a social worker, as a accessor, we need to understand these all are the things under this heading. The economic status of that family. Is that family is availing any kind of pension or any kind of services from outside? Anything can be included in this session. Through this, we got an idea about how the family's current situation, their financial conditions, their debts, everything can be included. Through that, we know how we can help that family, or is there any facilitation that needs family? Anything can be included in under this session. So next, we are going to the psychological overview. So as I already mentioned, like we always consider these psychosocial assessment only by considering these things under the total pain concept. So that total pain concept included the psychological factors also. So the psychological overview also need to take it. In the session, the psychosocial psychological aspects included the psychological dilemmas or their emotional problems, their coping skills, anything can be included in the psychological overview. We know that most of the time, patient and their families are in denial stage. So denial means that is an unconscious activity of denying something towards an overwhelming reality. So they don't want to believe that is a reality. They think like it was a misdiagnosis or anything. So anything which is under the psychological overview can be documented under this. So next is spiritual overview. Next. Go, 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 go. Yes. So spiritual assessment. So when conducting an assessment, it is important to understand the differences between spirituality and religion. At one time, these words were used interchangeably, yet they are quite different. Spirituality may be defined as connections to self, connection to nature, or meaning of joy, strength and comfort, hope and concern, or connection to God or a higher power. So these all of the things comes under spiritual assessment. But there is a tendency, all of us, like we have a tendency like this spirituality we need to always consider under the religious background. But this spiritual assessment or spirituality is not always a religious matter. Some people have religious concerns, but most of the time these are the factors like they have the connection to self, connection to nature, and their self-esteem, the meaning of joy or meaning of life, anything can be in the spiritual assessment. So also consider more personal and informal than religion. So before a person has been diagnosed with any kind of rare disease or any life-limiting illness, we know that the man typically has some plans regarding their life. Some of them have retirement plans or 5-year plans, or may they have some wishes related to their daughter's marriage. Anything can. So obviously they have plans, but the sudden diagnosis will damage everything. So by taking a proper psychosocial assessment, we will be able to understand what all are that unfinished things or what all are their wishes. So those things we can identify under this spiritual assessment. So at that time, most of the patient or a family is hitting their spiritual brick wall. So that time the previous coping mechanism do not work. So they need an external support. So that's why we continue our follow up or continue the psychosocial assessment because it's an ongoing process. They may never ventilate all their emotion at one first time of our meeting. They will what ventilate all their emotions by the time. So we need a continuous assessment. So some hospital provides chaplain services for this spirituality things. Next. So assessment along all parameters revealed. The physical, I already mentioned one case, and based on that case, now it is easy to understand or it is easy to conclude these things based on that case under these total pain concept like physical, psychological, socioeconomic, and spiritual. So the physical factors include that case scenario. Based on that case scenario, physical pain, discomfort due to colostomy bag, fatigue, body image issue, lack of sleep, and the psychological impacts like anxiety about future, anxiety about children, unclear about the prognosis and palliative care, suicide ideation, isolation and stigmatization from family and grief. And the socioeconomic things are the strained relationship with the husband's family, loss of job, financial stability, instability, and debts, house rent, anything can be included under the socioeconomic. And the spiritual thing, extreme spiritual distress. She was a very religious person, but after the diagnosis, she was asking a lot of questions. Why all these sufferings? Loss of faith in God, loss of connection with the family, friends, and community, loss of interest in pleasurable activities, loss of hope about life. So lot of things can be happen during this time. So these all things can be find out only by taking a proper psychosocial assessment. Next. So now we can go the possible social, psychological, and spiritual impacts of one's life. So possible social impacts are these things: the social isolation, dependency, financial instability, lack of social support, debts, loss of work, and interpersonal issues, inadequate facilities. And these things are what different from patient to patient. Not necessary to these all things need to happen in one case. So this is different from patient to patient. Next slide. So these are the possible psychological impacts like feelings of shock, uncertainty, hopelessness, anticipatory grief, poor insight, anxiety, suicidal ideation, or wanting to hasten death, poor coping with illness. And psychosocial and spiritual suffering is real, but can be difficult to recognize and treat. This can be manifest as physical complaints. As I already told, like we cannot distinguish which of these factors is contributing the pain. So it is very difficult. But we got a picture clarity out of conducting a proper psychosocial assessment. Next. So we know what is dignity. The inability to acknowledge personhood, the insensitivity of not acknowledging personhood can be psychologically devastating. This is a quote by Dr. Harvey Max Choshino. Next. So next, another important thing in a psychosocial aspect, that is the ABCD approach. The ABCD of dignity conserving care. ABCD approach means the acronym of attitude, behavior, compassion, dialogue. We know what is attitude, behavior, compassion, dialogue, but it is different when we consider it in a palliative care setting. We know we need a positive attitude towards patient. Otherwise, we never get a expected results. The attitude means a positive attitude, and attitude will what will lead you a better actions. So it examines how attitude, our actions, and how people can take connections, conscious steps to adjust those attitudes and behaviors. So attitude matters. Please keep in mind, attitude matters when we deal with a psychosocial assessment to a patient. So next one is behavior. You know what is behavior? We need a kindness and respectful behavior when we're dealing with a patient. And compassion. What do you mean by compassion? Compassion is not something a person knows. It is something feel. That's a feelings. So we need a compassion towards patient. And last one is dialogue. We know dialogue means a communication. As I already told, communication matters. We need to be very conscious when dealing with the patients while our communication. So communication is the first step toward understanding. Next. So what do I need to know about you to help you better? So after taking a proper psychosocial assessment, we got answers to these questions. Next. You can see one of a picture. uh, you know, you can see the smile of that person and his wife. It's only related, or it's only the outcome of a proper psychosocial assessment. It was a celebration of his wedding, advanced wedding and anniversary celebration, and it was his one of a last wish that he need to celebrate his anniversary, wedding anniversary. So it was understood by a social worker after conducting a proper psychosocial assessment. So sometimes we need this kinds of thing. This is enough for a family. So these kinds of unmet needs we can fulfill by conducting a proper psychosocial assessment. So already told, like, after taking a proper psychosocial assessment, we can point out or we can reach a proper intervention and a plans pertaining for that patient. And these interventions mainly through information, listening, facilitation, and bereavement support, follow-up, counseling, psychoeducation, and rehabilitation. And the listening facilitation means the listening between various organization uh, and various NGOs. Facilitation means facilitating if the patient doesn't have any kind of medical or government things, the pension or thing like that things. Our role is to facilitate or informing them or educating them about that schemes and programs purely for your benefits. So it is our duty to explain that things. And counseling, sometimes the patient needs supportive counseling, and sometimes they need a listener. So any role can be taken. And we need a follow-up assessment. And the bereavement support, you know what is bereavement support? Bereavement means after the death, the patient's spouse or family members need bereavement support. And the rehabilitation, so uh, helping to death, that is not only our aim. Sometimes they need to rehabilitate again to the society. So that is also our major aim. So these are the major interventions after taking a proper psychosocial assessment. Next. So these are some of the vocational rehabilitation which I'm currently doing. It is part of the rehabilitation things. Next. We have some educational support group. So these are the pictures. Next. So always remember, evaluate our interventions, assess how the patients and families are benefited, assessments how to be revised and updated, proper documentation is invaluable. Wherever possible, use research validated techniques. There is an art and science in psychosocial care, just as medicine. So this is all about psychosocial care. Without this psychosocial assessment, I think palliative care is incomplete, because we always what talking about this total pain and the four domains of care. So this proper psychosocial assessment is one of the important thing in a palliative care setting. Now the patient-centered approach is transferred to whole system approach. Next. So this is one of the quote by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And the most beautiful people we have known are those who have known defeat, known suffering, known struggle, known loss, and have found their own way out of these steps. But they want an external support. So thank you so much for your kind listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elena, for the excellent presentation. So if you have any doubts, please ask.
You can use chat box also.
Anybody? If you have no questions, we can move on to the case presentation. Today, the case patient story will be presented by Mr. Harishankar. Mr. Harishankar, welcome and over to you.
Yeah. A very good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hi everyone, a very good afternoon. So this is Harishankar Podagunta as a palliative care nurse at Sri Venkateswara Institute of Cancer Care and Advanced Research. It is supported by Tata Trust. So now we discuss a small story about one of our favorable patient. So details is age 39 years, gender male, diagnosis is CA tongue. So as per evidence of histopathological examination shows, it is a metastatic squamous cell carcinoma in the neck. Their presenting complaints means care of severe pain at the wound site, especially in the left side of the neck with a foul smelling discharge from the wound, pain during swallowing and constipation, disturbed sleep. These are all the presenting complaints. And the history of illness is patient is presented with severe pain in the mouth since April 2019. Took local medications, underwent to Usmania Hospital for the further management. And there he underwent biopsy and was diagnosed as a cancer tongue in August 2019 and was referred to MNJ Hospital for further workup to rule out the distant spread by PET scan. Later, patient went to Basavataraka Indo-American Hospital and received chemotherapy, radiation, and underwent gastrectomy with bilateral neck resection. He was on pain medication. He was on medication. So tablet Taxim 200 mg, tab Metrogyl 400 mg, tab Ketalog 30 mg. The patient was cancer-free for 5 months, and he had one episode of sudden bleeding from the dissection site of the neck, and was patient again to Basavatarka, and he was referred to our pain and palliative care center. Presently, patient came to MNJ with pain score is 7/10 with foul smell and mucositis. This is the history of their illness. And the examination part, the vitals is a temperature 36.8 degrees centigrade, and pulse is 110 beats per minute, respiratory rate 20 breaths per minute, blood pressure 110 per 70 mm of Hg. So saturation 98% on room air. So ECOG score is 3%. Sorry, ECOG score is 3, and pain score is 7/10 as per numerical rating scale, and the delirium also there 1/10. So palliative performance scale is 70%. Here the picture, sir, please. Here the picture indicates the two pictures is there. One is the before. The first picture indicates the pain score is 7/10. It is a type of pricking type. And the next one image, it is reduced pain. So the pain is 4/10. So it is also a pulling type pain. Then, and the treatment and significant investigations, he had a foul smelling wound with pain score of 7/10. Now his foul smell from the neck dissection site has reduced with dressing with Metrogyl 50 ml plus 50 ml normal saline diluted. And thereafter, he was kept on a syrup sucralfate on Metrogyl. Oral care was given every second hourly with lukewarm water with salt and baking soda. Now the pain score has reduced 4/10, and foul smell has reduced with continuous mouth care. So as per the hemoglobin level is 9.7 grams, and WBC is the 3,900 cells, and platelets is 2.82 lakhs. Next cell, please. So while we're discussing psychological aspects, he wants to know what is happening to him. He wants to know if the cancer came back. He was aware of his condition along with his family. He was neither aware of his recurrence of his disease or his family. He has 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy. He wants to connect with his children all the time. Sometimes he feels alone and has fear that he won't see them settle and won't able to see their marriage. Then he feels very depressed and anxious about his disease condition. He is more concerned about their financial issues. If something happens to him, and it is sleep also disturbed because due to pain. So the medications is for pain relief, a tablet morphine sulfate 5 mg, so every 4th hourly, and SOS justice also. So tablet paracetamol 500 mg BD. For relieving of constipation, tablet Darcolex, 2 tablets 5 mg at hours of sleep with 30 ml of syrup with 30 ml of syrup cremafin. For disturbed sleep, so tablet Ativan 1 mg at hours of sleep, tablet pantoprazole 40 mg body before breakfast. So main concern about his pain management and oral care, his disease and prognosis, his finances, his family. So these are all the main concerns. So summary, a 39-year-old man diagnosed a case of CA tongue, and workup he was diagnosed as a metastatic squamous cell carcinoma in the neck with a ulcerated, necrotic and fungating node with foul odor, live with 1 son and 2 daughters and his wife, while using above medications to reduce their pain and other disease-related factors. So as per the today's class based discussion points, so the first one is, is it important to take to make him aware of his current disease and prognosis? Is it equally important to explain the victim's family about the prognosis of the disease and its psychological effect on the patient? Is it justified to educate the caregivers to take measures so that patient will be connected to the family all the time to prevent the feeling of loneliness and pulling him from the mental illness? How much it is important for us to take measures to prevent family to suffer the mental illness along with the patient? So for example, providing financial support to the family for their children's educations like that. And the final one is at the end of the counseling, so patient and caregiver should be convinced and completely satisfied with our efforts and accepted the truth despite in a bad state. It is possible, is it? Next slide. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Harishankar, for the excellent presentation. So now we understand that here this patient, 39-year-old man, has that lot of psychosocial issues. We learned how to do the assessment part. So we can go move on to the discussion points. We would like to hear from the participants' side. So how will we help this patient? We can give some suggestions, and your ideas also helpful for that. So you can help to Harishankar for that. He wants to help this patient. Go. Okay, so that's why he raised this patient here. Okay, so either you can chat or unmute yourself and talk. If you want any clarification regarding this patient's story, that also you can ask. Harishankar will be try to answer your questions. Okay, Diana said, first question, you can talk to the patient and find out whether he is willing to know about the prognosis. It's very good. Any other suggestions?
Hello.
Yes, you can talk.
Yes.
Please tell.
I think it is important for the patient to be aware of the condition and the prognosis because the patient already knew he had cancer and he has gone on treatment for that. And there is this reoccurrence. We need to tell the patient that this is what has happened now. This is the state you are in now. And then where the metastases have even gone to. Then we explain further to let the patient know that probably this is what is happening currently, so that if he has things to put in place, he does it quickly.
Thank you. Thank you, Astina. Mr. Harishankar,
Yeah, ma'am. Please tell me.
he knows the diagnosis, but he doesn't know the prognosis, right?
Yeah, ma'am. Basically, he know the diagnosis at the time of diagnosing the disease. But
Okay.
unfortunately, after the surgery and the treatment, everything will be completed. So
Okay.
againly, the bleeding also will be start from the bleeding also start from the wound site. So that time, he is worried about their present condition. So what is happening suddenly to me? The bleeding will start from the wound site. Again, the cancer will be recurrence or not. In case it is recurrent, so what is happening to me? So he is thinking so many issues. Main thing he's focusing about their emotional and coping issues.
Okay. Thank you. Ella, you want to add anything?
In my opinion, out of my experience until now, I think it is purely based on that patient's situation, and it is based on his coping strategy or his previous coping mechanism, is he able to cope with the by identification of this recurrence or diagnosis or prognosis? If he is able to overcome such situation, I think this prognosis and the diagnosis, we can inform that patient. That will help to the Medicaid compliance also. So otherwise, if it is going to deny or damage everything or his faith or his coming days, that is better to avoid that kinds of collusion breaking things. That is my opinion. It's purely based
Yeah,
on patient situation.
yeah, definitely, ma'am. So, but in this situation, so what you're saying that is exactly true. But as per my client evidence and me and my client interaction, I identified so many emotional and coping issues. For example, depression, anxiety, fear. So these are all the very important issues. Huh?
Yes, yes.
So we are when our medical social worker given a counseling session to him. So that time they are also focusing some of their family supported groups or some of the family. They are conducting some of the family meetings and they given some of the mental health education, everything. But againly, the patient and their family members they come and ask, sister, what is happening to me suddenly? Doctor, what is happening to me suddenly? Last 5 months, he is disease free, na? Then again, why it comes? The cancer is coming or back or not? Again, continuously they asking. Then the time, the doctors, those who are the palliative care physicians and the medical social workers and the psych and the palliative care nurse. So they are also conducting one group gathering meetings. So that time also explain each and everything, their disease condition, their prognosis, everything we explain each and everything to the family and their caregivers also. So why it means continuously we explain the all these current and previous situations. Easily they handle all the emotional and coping related issues. Yes or no, ma'am? So same like we following and uh, we treat him in our hospital center.
Yes, yes, Harishankar, definitely.
And one chat answer is informing and sharing with patient and family. It is always good to cause through that the patient and the loved one will be able to have a quality time together. Yes. And the another thing, I think we don't give any false hope to the patient. That is very important here.
Yeah.
Day by day, the condition will be worsening. So if you give any false hope, okay, this will cure soon. That type of hope if you give, that will be affected you also. That sometimes they don't believe your words after that. So don't give false hope. But and the other thing is, they in my experience, sometimes they come and said the doctor said cancer. They don't know what is cancer. Okay, so that the initial part is itself we need to talk. What do you understand about cancer? Okay, you have to take their insight of the patient and their family. Sometimes the patient knows what is cancer, but the caregiver doesn't know what is cancer. Okay, so you have to talk to them based on their words. Sometimes they said, "Oh, one tumor, that's cancer." That's why that is what I understand from the words cancer. So that time you have to give a chance to explore and educate them. Explanation, give proper explanation about cancer and what is the after the developing cancer, what is happening in our cells and the changes. That all things you have to talk to them, then they might understand that.
Yeah, and one more thing also, in this case, we addressed some of the issues related their practical life. So some patients may have, they get some of the financial and legal worries also. So for example, my client is taken a policy. So he asked, sir, once I am in my death, so the total amount will be refunded or not? These are only some of the legal worries. Na? So these type of questions also againly they ask in our counseling sessions, like their employment concerns and some of the insurance concerns. So like this. And some patients, they ask their spiritual worries. So what kind of sin I can do, or like things, what karma say I did. So these are all things, issues also. They tell we'll conducting our counseling sessions.
Okay. Any other suggestions from the participant side? If you want to share your thoughts, you can just share your thoughts.
Harishankar sir,
Yeah, ma'am, please tell me.
is that patient is availing any kind of governmental schemes or availing any kind of pension or something?
Yeah,
What is that?
he is taking a LIC policy last 5 years back. Now, yeah, ma'am.
Other than that, there is no any governmental schemes or something like that. Only this LIC scheme.
Only one policy he is taken. Before diagnosed cancer, they taken the policy.
Okay.
So after at the end of life, basically everything. So one day definitely maybe maybe a chance to death. But that time, what is my family situation? What is my children's? In case they given this much of money to my family, they are also really live with this society. In case they didn't given the money, they are getting more struggle in the society. Same repeated questions they ask.
Okay.
And one more thing also, we conducting every counseling session. First, we frame some objectives. Every session we frame some objectives. So today we will focusing about this problem. So today we will focusing about social issues. So today we will focusing about physical issues. But in these all situations, we are using one scale, that is distress scale. At that time also their distress score also maximum 2 to 4.
Okay.
Every patient, as per my observation. So maximum the 2 to 4 every patient they get their score at the end of life stage. So here we observed a small thing. Every patient needs and they get worry at the end of life stage. We are ours conducted any counseling sessions. It is whether it is useful or not for every patient. Myself also checking personally so many times. I am also given counseling sessions. Our medical social worker also given counseling sessions. Our palliative physician are also given counseling sessions. Everybody given counseling sessions at different stages. But whether it is understanding or it is useful for the patient or not. So myself also questioning so many times for me.
If you find out their problems, if you why we are doing counseling, we have to explore their problems. If you explore their problems, you can give some solution on that. Okay, then only so if you give now we understand that lot of financial problems. Now he wants to know whether he is able to that return that all money to the family after his if after his death, that LIC policy. So all those things, if we understand their queries, we maybe at the time you get the queries, you are not able to an answer, but after that you can just find out that solution and just give an answer to the patient. Then he will or she will satisfy. Okay, after that she will or the family will get this much amount, so that he is happy. Okay, after that also he will this at least this that amount. So if he doesn't get any answer from the team, so he is totally unsatisfied. So that's why I understand from my experience.
Okay.
What about Elna?
I have the same experience, like you told. Uh, and in our palliative care, we are mainly focusing connecting them to the external sources, finding resources from our own society, or connecting them with the governmental schemes or pensions, so that they can, maybe they are not aware of such things until they are diagnosed with a kind of disease. So as a social worker or as a medical physician, we all can educate them about this. So that will be a great helpful part for them, and through that they can reduce their financial burden at least to an extent. So that is a major things that we are doing or we are following in palliative care. We explore or we connect them with the external sources or the already existing resources. So through that we can minimize these kinds of problems towards extent.
So what is the source of income right now?
Yeah, actually, one of NGO is there,
Okay.
non-government organization. So they provide minimum needs to their family. For example, rice, clothes, for monthly basis, rent. So
Okay.
these things they provide. Why? Because their wife also taking care of their children.
Okay.
So she also a housewife. But she didn't get any income. So that's why our hospice related NGO care is there. They provide some of the beneficiaries to the patient.
Okay. It's very good. Anybody wants to share your thoughts? Okay. I think this patient has a lot of psychosocial issues. We understand that from the patient story itself. So now his pain is 4 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So when he that came to you, that pain score is 7 out of 10. But after your proper treatment, he got some relief, and Now his pain is 4 out of 10 with morphine. So my suggestion is, if you give more morphine without help to the patient, to this patient's pain relief, I think we can explore more about the psychosocial issues and give proper attention to the psychosocial issues. Give some solutions to the psychosocial issues, then only he will get proper sleep and good pain relief. If the patient is having physical psychosocial issues, so there definitely the physical pain and distress will be increasing. So once you give some solutions on the psychosocial issues, definitely the physical problems comes down. That is my suggestions. This patient. Anyway, this that case presentation is very good. We learned a lot from this patient story. Harishankar, if you want anything more about the patient story, do you get an idea?
Yeah, no, ma'am. Actually, main thing is we focusing other problems. For example, illness related to illness related problems, or any treatment related problems, or any concurrent or debility related factors. But as my observation, so majority of times the families and their family members also, they focused, but our medical staff, the doctors, nurses, everybody, they focusing these problems. It means illness and treatment related and concrete or debility related factors. But family members, they focusing about all times social and spiritual issues only. So some family members, we start morphine 5 mg, it is a very low dose. So that time the family members also ask, sir, it is a what it means. They use one word, sir. This is drugs. Once we start these drugs, until our life needed all this type of drugs. Sir, it is true or not? Yeah, opiates, it is a pain relieving drugs. This is not any other type of drugs, but they thinking like that. So one of our relatives told, so one of our family members told, once we start these drugs, until our life need this type of drugs like that. So that is one thing. And second one is we explain situation, I mean prognosis or a diagnosis, whatever it may be. Sir, yesterday doctor also given counseling. Today you are also given counseling. Sir, please tell me, it is condition or bad or not? So what we saying, it means we trying to explain the prognosis. So this is a cauliflower wound. So maggots also developing. How we clean the wound. So one by one we explain to the patient. I say example. So that time the patient again ask, sir, it is cured or not? So one thing. And second one is some patients and their attenders, their family members. So my wife is suffered from cancer, or my husband is suffered from cancer. It is a contagious disease or not? So all type of this type of questions we listen our counseling sessions. But one major thing it means, so the palliative care mainly focusing about individuals and their families. So in individuals, mainly we're focusing about the physical, psychological, and social and spiritual issues. And some of their managing issues also is focusing about. Okay. And sometimes we do some brief and sorry, we give grief during the illness and bereavement also. So for all these situations, they forget. So what our doctors, nurses should explain, they forget. Againly, they start from first onwards. So one family members will come and ask. Yesterday, their daughter will come and ask, sir, how is my mother's condition? How is my father's condition? Today, their elder daughter will come and ask, sir, what is my father condition? What is my mother condition, like that? So yesterday, counseled for myself. Today, I'm not there. One of other nurse also take care about it. So again, she also explained. But me given a different counseling. So that time, sir, yesterday our nurse told it is a recurrence condition. Na? It's stopping. It stopped the bleeding or not, like that. So they focusing about many times only social and spiritual issues only. Actually, I identified one a small case. A case is CS cervix with full bleeding. He is away from our hospital to nearly 150 kilometers from our hospital. It is a very foul smell also. How it is managing? She don't know anything about how it's managing, but she is suffering from very severe pain. It is difficult to travel from their home to my hospital. So that time bleeding also there. They didn't pick a bus. They didn't take any cab or any other any train or any other type of travel. They're suffering a lot. Why? Because they travel in bus. The foul smell will come. The other passengers also will disturb. She's coming a poor family, so that's why she didn't bear the traveling offenses, right? So these are all the issues. Our hospice team, home care team, should consult first consultation in their home. So that time we identified thousands of questions and thousands of psychosociological issues. Really, it is very difficult to treat the type of patients. But as a palliative care nurse, I am treated my patients with one type of sympathy and doing sometimes also empathy also. But anytime, right, while on duty or off duty, I do my level best treatment for every patient, not only cancer patients or any type of bedridden patients also. But every patient, they need how much importance they given to reduce the physical problems. So more than importance to give to reduce the psychological problems, as per my point of view.
Okay.
So these are the very validated points that you pointed out by Mr. Harishankar. So I think these all are needs to consider under a proper psychosocial assessment. So these all are things we can take only by conducting a proper psychosocial assessment, I think. So thank you for your points. Thank you.
Smita said they are denying the disease condition. Sometimes, if they knows that the condition of the patients, but then they are asking whether his condition is improved or that bad. That will be there, but we don't know whether there is a false hope or good hope. So, but that good denial or bad. So, so you can just talk to them frequently. And another thing is, if they are asking frequently, what you can do is you can take their insight. What do you understand from their that previous day to that yesterday? If you said or explain all the problems yesterday, today, tomorrow morning or today they came to you and again asking whether the condition, whether my father's condition is better or not. Then you can ask them, what did you feel? Okay, You just take their insight. Based on their insight, you can talk. And there will be lot of misconception is there, so we can just clarify their misconception also. They can just thinking the cancer will be spreading, that type of problems there. So if there is a misconception there, you can talk to them. And regarding that morphine availing also, there will be a myths there. So if they take, even if the medical persons also, they think if the patient start morphine, okay, near to death. That is what the medical professionals also feel. So we need to just take their insight, and you can talk to them. Then only the myths you can give the facts. Why we start morphine and what is the condition now. All those things, you frequent counseling is needed for this type of patients. Even end of life care patients, you can give time to time. Maybe after 1 hour, if you if you see any changes, you can talk to the family. This changes is there. So if you want, you can you can inform to the relatives. And the important thing, proper documentation and teamwork. If you do the proper teamwork, so definitely the quality of care will be improved. Okay, so we can wind up here. So thank you, Elena, for the excellent presentation. Thank you, Harishankar, once again for the excellent presentation. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, thank you. See you next week.